Welcome back to Surin Real Estate Podcast, where we bring on top agents and break down what is actually working in today's market. I'm your host, Saeed, and today I have James with myself, and he's from Southlake, Texas. And James has been in business since 2002. So he's been running multiple market cycles, and he focuses on helping clients buy and sell high value homes with a strong emphasis on relationship and result. James, glad to have you here, my friend.
Thank you. Pleasure to meet you. Look
Awesome.
forward to
So,
speaking with you today.
yeah, it's an honor to have you, my friend. And James, I want to go through this, and I need your real experiences because this is what makes Soren Real Estate Podcast a different podcast. I'm asking about what really they know, what kind of unique and what kind of experiences they have had in this career. So, James, you have been in real estate since 2002. What actually pulled you into the business, and what kept you in it for 2 decades? Give me your story, James. I want to hear it.
Yeah, I was in corporate America and I was traveling for work every week. I, you know, I was a traveling sales director. So every Monday I had to be in Atlanta for a sales meeting.
Yeah.
So either Sunday evening or Monday morning, I took off to Atlanta, and then I live in, DFW, where
Mhm.
my family's at and where I live. And so I was gone most of the week, every week. Um, I was selling IT solutions, and we started having we had a child, and as a family, we decided that, me not being home was really not what we wanted as a family.
Yeah.
So I decided that, if I'm going to have a family, I want to be there to enjoy it and raise them and create good citizens. And so I've been very involved with my children, very involved in my community.
Mhm.
This is, as you said, this is my 24th year in real estate.
Awesome.
I was counting earlier this year that I've sold 1,100 homes in that time frame. So
Hey.
that's roughly 40 properties a year or
Yeah.
so. So yeah, it's been a great career, and I really enjoy it. I think what got me in it was both my grandfathers. My mother's father and my dad's father were both in real estate in San Antonio,
Yeah.
which is South Texas, and I'm in North Texas, up here in Dallas, Fort Worth. But so just thought that maybe that's in the blood, and I should
Yeah.
pursue it. So as a career path that I could be home every evening, um, and be around to be involved in my children and my family. That's really kind of what drove me to this business. And it was a business that I could, uh, make a decent amount of income
For
to
sure.
replace the income that I was leaving when I left corporate America. So,
I love it. So you kind of inherited that kind of talent from your parents and grandparents. So yeah, I think I love it, James. I think you had it, and based on what you just told me, I think you do have a natural talent in real estate. I love it.
well, I hope so. After about, you know, almost 25 years, yeah, but no, I enjoy the business,
Awesome. I love it.
and I love to share and educate
Mhm.
other agents. That's the one thing that about this industry that I've noticed is there's not a lot of hand holding. You get the basic understanding from the real estate school, you pass your test, and then it's up to you really to make it or break
Exactly.
it. And so I feel like if there are more mentors available to agents coming into the business, I think they would be more successful. There's a lot of agents that don't make it. I don't know what the numbers are, probably 70 to 80% don't make it, after their first 6 months or year. A lot of it is because they don't have the cash to sustain them and pay their bills long enough. Some people get out here and get a couple deals going right away.
Mhm.
Others take several months to a year. And that's what I would say is anyone thinking about getting into this business, hopefully you have a partner or a spouse that has a good job that's, that can cover the
Yes.
expenses for the house. And that way you don't have that pressure on you I mean, you're going to have pressure to make something happen, right? To get a deal, to
You
get
would have the
transactions
time.
going.
Yes.
But you'll have the time because if you do this part time, it's difficult to get the thing going, to get your business going because you really need to focus. I mean, I remember spending, I mean, almost every day I was getting up at 6 a.m. and I wasn't finished until almost midnight every night for several months, just trying to figure the business out, trying to figure out how do I get clients, where do I go to get these clients, how to get that process started. So there's a big learning curve, and you got to have enough income or money saved up so that you're not worrying about, well, gosh, I got my mortgage to pay, or I have a car payment, I have to pay my kids, you know, daycare.
Exactly.
Where's that money going to come from? And
Yes.
if you have to think about that and you don't think about the real estate, then that's the challenge is getting through that. Unfortunately, my wife has a good job and was able to sustain us for several months. We did save. We did have a pretty nice savings account
Mhm.
to help us get through the first year or so. But yeah, that's definitely a challenge for anyone new or
Yeah.
wanting to get into this business.
Sure. So based on what you just said, I think marrying with the right person is a kind of investment.
I mean, I guess that's a way to look at it, but really, I don't think people go into marriage thinking that, oh, this
No,
person will
but
be able
it
to support
is.
me in any endeavor that I want. But anyway, yeah,
Yeah. But
maybe that's not the
that's a very
yeah.
good point, actually, James. You mentioned like, hey, you gotta have that kind of relationship. Honestly, I think marriage is, and I'm not just looking at it financially. Hey, marry with someone that is rich. No, 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 no. I am thinking about the marriage can be a big investment for you because it can help you in your career. It can lift you up. So, what do you say to that, James?
Well, I think here's what my thought process is on that. A marriage is a partnership,
Yeah, sure.
right? You both have to be invested and have the same goals, right? Not only family, but faith. And, you know, getting into this business, where most everyone else, most people work 8 to 5 or 8 to 6, and
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
off on the weekends, right? And then there's certainly, I would say 70 to 80% of people that work, those are the hours, right? And also a lot of people get a paycheck every 2 weeks or once a month or whatnot. This business is not like that.
Yeah,
It's, you kind of have to, when your client calls and wants to go see a house at 6 o'clock at night, guess what?
you have to go.
You
Yeah.
need to do that. You need to be there. If they want to go see a house Sunday afternoon, you got to go do that.
Yes.
So, um, and certainly there's people that kind of put parameters around their work schedule. But the other thing is the income. The income is very up and down. It's some months you're doing very well. Some months you got nothing coming in, and you really have to manage your finances. And, I make, and I think most agents do this, make 60% of their income from April to August. Those 4 or 5 months, they make the majority of their income. So they need to say, okay, here's my budget. And anytime I make any dollars over that budget, I
Hmm.
stick it in a savings account. So
Yeah,
that way I have money to carry me through, September through,
exactly.
March of the following year. Because
Exactly.
if you can't do that, if you can't set aside enough money when you're making a good amount of money over the summertime, then you're going to struggle through the winter and the spring
I love
until
that.
things start to happen again.
That's a very good
Very
point.
cyclical.
Yes,
Yeah.
very good point. If you're a real estate agent listening to this, do not forget what just James told you. Sometimes you're up, you're doing great, you're selling a lot of houses, you're doing all of that, you're closing the deal. Is save money for the time that you're not doing this. So absolutely love it. I love it, James.
Yeah, no, back to the relationship. It's a partnership. Okay. If
Yes.
you have a good partner and you make decisions together, this was a decision that my wife and I made. that this is what I was going to do, then there's no, certainly you can have discussions, but there's no, hey, you did this without me, and now here we are struggling, and we don't
Yeah,
have enough money to pay all these bills. And if you made the decision together, then everyone's in the boat together, right? We're
yeah.
going in the same direction. I think it's important to definitely have a partnership with your spouse or your better half or other half so that everyone's on the same page and we know what we're doing, what we're striving for here.
Exactly.
So anyway,
Exactly. Awesome. I love it, James. I love it. Cool. So you're based in Southlake, which is a very specific
yeah.
type of market. I know that. For someone who doesn't know it well, how would you describe the buyers and
Mhm.
sellers there right now?
I think the average homeowner here, person that lives in this town, they seem to be business owners, entrepreneurs, director level. So if they're at a company that they have a title of director level or higher, so
Yeah.
director, vice president, president, CEO, or if you're on the C-suite, so that's CIO, CFO, CEO, that's the level of people that live in this town. I mean, the average house here is 1.7 million, 1.8 million, and it's only getting more expensive to be
Mhm.
here. Part of
Yeah.
that is because it's a great school system that we're in. We're in the middle of the Metroplex. Most of the homes that are built here are what we consider family homes. So they're mostly 4 bedrooms. They're 3,000 square feet or more. They're sitting on a third of an acre, a half acre. Mostly families are
Hmm.
living here.
Yeah.
I would say 60% of the homeowners here have children in the school system. There are a few empty nesters. There are people that don't have kids. And
Yes. Yes.
so that's the type of, folks that want to live here is they've got kids, they want parks, they want places for the kids to run around. There's, all kinds of athletics for the kids to be involved in. The community is very involved here. We have lots, and we just had art in the square this past weekend, which is I think the third or fourth ranked arts festival in the United States. But very involved community, and people are here mostly for the schools as well as the proximity. We're again in the middle of the Metroplex. You can be to downtown Fort Worth or downtown Dallas in roughly 30 minutes. We're 10 minutes from DFW Airport. So a lot of people that live here get on a plane, just like I
Yeah.
used to,
That's
and
good.
then they go, they travel to their job wherever it might be, or if they've got clients in LA or New York, or 3 or 4 hours from those people. There's a lot of things that people like here. Cost of living seems to be better than most of the country. So there's a lot of reasons why people move here. And there's a lot of businesses relocating here as well.
Yeah, that's good. So that I see
So
that's the reason why prices are going up because, those actually numbers tells me a lot. So very good, James. So James,
yeah.
this is something that I ask from all of the agents. There are thousands of agents in Texas or South like saying they are building relationship, they are acting, with integrity and all of that. What do you actually do differently in your process that client can feel it, I want people to know that how James is making the difference when he's actually handling with clients.
So I don't know. I mean, I think there's a way to go about business. I don't know that it's much different than a lot of people. It's probably different than what they should be doing. They
Yeah.
may be doing something completely different. I think there's a way to do business in real estate. Real estate is built on trust. The consumer needs to be able to trust you. And how do you earn their trust?
How do you do that?
You need to be present. You need to be available. You need to be visible. You need to, have a good marketing strategy. It's difficult to be a secret agent in this business. The community to know that this is what you're doing. And there's a cost to that. And that's another thing when you get in this business. It's not that you just go sell a house and you get to keep all that money. A lot of that money you're having to reinvest in your business to market yourself to other homeowners in your town or the area that you want to focus on. It's being engaged with the community, and that is through joining the Chamber of Commerce, joining some philanthropy organization, something that matters to you. You're not there just to get business, but you're there to make a difference. So pick a charity that you enjoy or that you feel a good cause. This is a good cause, and I want to participate. I want to give back to the community.
Yeah.
And if you do those things, or at least those are a few things, be involved in, like I was the president of my HOA for 10 years. I was a Boy Scout leader with my sons. I
That's
took them to scouts and I became a leader. at the Cub Scout level and the Boy Scout level. I was a baseball coach for 8 seasons. So you just have to be involved in the community. And so when people see you out in those environments, that you're not out there, hey, come buy a house for me, or hey, can I sell your house? You're just there being a citizen and you're engaging in the community, you're involved in the community, you're giving back to the community. People see that, and that's where you build trust.
I
So
love it.
that's
I
my
love it.
secret, or I don't know that it's my secret. I think if most agents would do most of those things that I just mentioned, they'll be successful.
Yeah, I think you have a good pack of success here for agents. And I promise you, James, I talk to a lot of agents are kind of missing that kind of stuff. And you think this is something everybody knows, but I promise you, this is not something that this is not something that they hear every day. That's why I love talking with you agents, because every one of you have a different aspect. And when I put together all of these features, then I will understand better that, hey, what kind of work you're doing, how is the situation with that. But I love it, James. I love it. Cool. Tell me, what are the biggest mistake you see? I wanted to ask about buyers specifically in this question. What are the biggest mistake you see buyers
Mhm.
making right now, especially in your market? I want to hear that because a lot of agents are talking about this right now and it's kind of trend. So tell me about it.
All right. So if you buy any product, let's specifically talk used cars because we're in my market, there really aren't a lot of new homes to buy. You have to go pretty far out. I have to drive 30 minutes to get to a new construction neighborhood. Most people, if they want a new home, that's kind of where they have to go. They have to drive out of, kind of go away from the middle of town and get to the outskirts where there's more available land. And that's where the new construction home builders are building. So if they don't want a new home or a brand new home and they want to live in a certain area where there is not a lot of new construction, it's similar to buying a used car. When you say, okay, I'm gonna buy a used vehicle and I'm gonna spend X amount of dollars and I want the lowest mileage, the best condition, no accidents, right? I want the best value for my dollar. And I have a budget and this is what I want. This is the car I want. This is the budget I have. But here's all the things that the car I'm looking for need to have. Again, low mileage, lightly used, no accidents. And I think people use a similar process when they buy a home. I want a home that is in good condition, has been recently updated,
Mhm.
has all the amenities that I'm looking for, and then they want the best value. But you're not alone in this process. You're not the only buyer that's seeking the same thing. What happens is if a home is in really good condition, has been recently updated, there are going to be more buyers looking at that property than the ones that are not in a great location, need a lot of work, are kind of dirty. They need new carpet, new paint, they smell like a dog, whatever. It's a little rough around the edges, if you will, is kind of my point. Those homes don't get looked at as much as a home that is in much better condition. And that's just, I think, human nature. People want the best value for their money.
Exactly.
But I think buyers need to understand that they're not the only one looking at that and to listen to their experienced agent. When the experienced agent says, here is the best offer I think you should make. And it doesn't just have to be about price. A lot of the times it is price, but there are other considerations in negotiations. Get a property or get a seller to accept your offer. Now, we've heard a lot about all this rising inventory and there's not a lot of buyers and there's so much inventory available. But when you look at the inventory, the available inventory in any given market, typically you'll see about 10 to 20% are the cream of the crop. They're the ones that are updated. They're the ones that are beautiful. They're the ones that the seller has done a lot of stuff to it and it's move-in ready and it's, gorgeous. Most buyers in this market are coming here. They have families, they have jobs. They don't have a lot of time to go spend to redo a house.
Mm.
This is almost advice to sellers as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Try to get your property as clean and as updated and low need of being updated or, things that need to be done to the home. If you can get it as close as you can, as much as you can afford to put into the home to get it ready for the market, you're going to have a greater success. And so the buyers are looking for those homes. They're willing to pay for them. I can't tell you how many number of homes this spring that I've had, not only as an agent, a listing agent, but as a buyer's agent, where we're going up against multiple offers. And you're going, wait, what's going on? Why are we have all this inventory? Why are some houses getting multiple offers? It's because those are the homes that most buyers appreciate because they're move-in ready, they're ready to go. I don't have to do anything. I can move in and keep going with my life. I don't have to stop things down and say, oh, we need to redo the kitchen. Oh, we need to redo the bathrooms. That slows people's lives down. And that's a certain amount of time to get that work done. That's months to do a kitchen,
Yes.
right? And that's months that you're not going to be able to use that kitchen. If you think about it, is a buyer willing to do all that? Very few buyers are willing to go through all that
Yeah, that's
process.
right, actually. That's right. Yes.
Sellers, get your house as much as you can afford to spend to get it up to date and get it as current as you can. And for buyers, know that you're not the only one looking for that type of property. There are other competitors, and you need to come in with a strong offer and be flexible on some of the terms. Lease backs, allowing the seller to stay in the home for a couple of weeks to get moved out or move into the next home. Those seem to be the winning offers, is
Yeah,
the
I
ones
love
that
that.
have the most flexibility for the seller.
I need you to give me one deal that was either really challenging or really memorable, and what you have learned from it. This is an interesting question. And I ask this from every agent, and every time, this would be a lesson for anyone that is listening to this podcast right now. So let us know about it.
Is there anything specific as far as a challenge or selling 1,100 homes? I have a few examples. I just don't know. Is there something specific you're looking for?
You said, a thousand, more than 1,000 actually deals you have closed. So is there any deal that was really challenging or memorable? I want agents to understand that what kind of challenges you have had and how did you overcome to that challenge? Because I have heard from a lot of agents, they had one customer that was really hard to negotiate, another one, and how they kind of build that trust. I want to hear that part, James. So I'm pretty sure that you do have a lot of kind of deals and a lot of kind of situations. But, is there anything special that you want to mention that was maybe challenging, maybe something memorable? I want to hear that.
Folks that have a certain type of job or have a certain personality trait seem to be a little challenging than others. Okay. So we'll just come at it from that perspective. It's where a client feels like this is a real estate transaction. This is easy. You get a buyer, you have a seller, you negotiate the deal, and it's as easy as that. And that couldn't be further from the truth.
Hmm.
So again, going back to trusting your agent, you need to trust them because more than likely they've been through these scenarios before. And so there's one particular in just the last 12 months, a client that I was the third agent. So they'd already been through two other agents. The other agents, they finally acquiesced to the situation, knowing, okay, we tried to be the expert. I'm talking about the client.
Yes.
We tried to be the expert. We tried to control the situation. We tried to control the transaction. It was under our terms and our terms alone. So it was a win for us, and we don't care about anybody else, right? That's a bad way to go into a deal. And you have to think about this. Every property has an aura about it. And when you leave a home, you want the next buyer. This is my philosophy. Not everybody may agree with it. You want to have a successful transaction for all parties involved so that the buyer moves into the home in a very happy condition, right?
Hmm.
They don't want it to be a struggle and, oh my God, this is so hard to do this deal. And how are they going to feel about owning that home then after the fact? That they had to go through all this, they had to go through the trenches with this seller to get this home. They're going to have negative vibes or negative feelings about that property, and they're not going to be happy there. Again, you as a seller may not care. I think as a human being, we want people to enjoy the environment that they're going to live in. I had a difficult client that I believe in the first two agents that they were working with probably tried to control the situation more than they should have been trying to control.
Hmm.
And so that may have run off buyers, that may have run off these two agents because they're like, you know what? I don't want to deal with this person. I'm just going to let the listing go. And again, it could have been a combination of me and my personality working with this person to try to get them to, this isn't just about you. It takes two to tango, as they say. The buyer is a partner in this transaction. If they don't agree, there's no deal. If you don't agree, there's no deal. So we all
Exactly.
have to kind of come together to make this work.
Yes.
That's ultimately what the whole transaction ended up being was, please understand, I would love for it to all go your way and you to get everything that you want and to get, and who cares about anybody else? That's not necessarily going to happen, right?
Yeah.
When you're dealing in these types of transactions. Now, there may be other markets where it's my way or the highway. I can think of a few, maybe in New York or somewhere along, in California along the coastlines. There's some properties that are so unique that, what, these properties don't come up very often. And you have to the buyer just has to give in and say, whatever, here's the money, leave so I can buy the property. There are unique properties that can happen. But in a normal market, in a normal neighborhood, with a normal property, that isn't always the case because they'll just go down the street and buy the next home that's maybe somebody's a little bit more, easygoing or a little bit more negotiable or a little bit willing to do the deal and not have to do everything your way. So there's some lessons in that. But it's also that was an experience that I had just in the last 12 months where this seller was very difficult. They came from an education and their position within a company made them feel a certain way. Normally in corporate America, depending on your position within the company, people are, yes, sir, what can we do for you, sir? Or, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. And then they carry that out into the general public and they think that everyone still should treat them the same way. No, you're just a regular guy trying to sell, or a regular gal just trying to sell a house.
You're not the king. You're not the
President, VP,
CEO of,
that
this.
the title, right? The title goes away,
Exactly.
right? The title goes away unless you're like an actor or actress, or somebody like that. I
Yeah.
can see how those people might have this, like, oh no, I'm so and so, and people should respect that. Most people aren't in a position like that,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
especially if you're trying to sell a mid-level home
Mm.
to a mid-level buyer. There's really no. We're just trying to bring two parties together, to someone a home and someone to sell one, and so that everybody can move on with their life is really what we're trying to do at the end of the day. And
Yes, exactly. I think this is the part that would definitely need to people here. That's something that I have heard from other agents. I don't know if this is surprising you or not, but a lot of agents told me the exact same thing that you just told me, James, that how people are kind of buying or selling are happening. And I don't know, maybe that's like a wrong mindset that people have and they're selling their homes. I don't know exactly, but I love it. I think people need to hear it.
certain markets may the ability for the seller to control the deal because they're so unique. Properties are so hard to find. There's certain
Sure.
properties that are hard to find. I
Exactly.
mean, in New York, there's certain properties that have a view of, Central Park, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
those properties are unique. You can't find them all the time. So maybe there's a little bit more that the seller has control of because this is such a unique property, right?
Yes.
Or other properties that are looking at the Pacific Ocean. Hey, you're not going to get this view anywhere else. So you're going to have to do some things to get this property, right? Those are very unique. They're in the top 5% or
Exactly.
less, right? Maybe top 1% type properties.
Exactly.
Those are different. I'm just talking normal property in a subdivision where every home kind of looks the same and everybody's got the same backyard, that kind of thing.
I
That's where
love,
you said, you know what?
yeah,
Hey, we're just
100%.
trying to bring the deal together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Can't agree more with that. So, as last question, James, tell me if someone is thinking about buying or selling in Southlake or the surrounding areas, what is the one thing that they should do before making a move? So, what do you think, the very first thing, the very first step that they gotta take?
That's a big question. There's a lot.
The very first one, whether they are a buyer or seller, what do you think they should do as a first step that is really important?
I think the biggest thing in our market here is timing. When are you going to list? When are you going to be ready to go? That's the key thing because there is a window of selling a home because we have,
Mhm.
most of our sales are around the school. School starts in August here. So a lot of buyers want to be moved into their home by
Mhm.
late summer
Mhm.
at the latest. They would like to be moved in sooner. A lot of the buyers are moving here. They already have school-aged kids. There's not a lot of new families moving in, like with little babies. They're in a minority because there aren't a lot of homes that young families can afford in this town. So we end up seeing a lot of people with kids that are already in the school, the middle school, high school, latter part of elementary because they're further on in their career. So they are in a position financially to afford a home
Hmm.
in these price ranges. So that typically means that they are older, which also means normally their kids are older. The school year is important. I don't think a lot of people want to pull their kids out of the school.
Hmm.
In kindergarten or first grade, it's okay because they can, think just about every first grade is teaching the same thing across
Yes.
the country for the most part, one, two, three, and ABC. But as you get further into school, you don't really want to upset that learning process for the kids. So you want to leave them in school as long as you can. So really timing is the biggest thing, at least in this market, because we're so tied to that school year for home sales. So
Makes sense.
that's
Like the
important.
timing is absolutely important. You said it, James, and I love that. Yes, timing. Very good advice. Very good. So, James, if someone wants to reach out to you or learn about you or about what you're doing, where should they go? So that's something because our podcast people are listening to it. Where exactly they should go?
So you can go to my website at jameskeoughan.com. I know that that last name is not a very common name, so it may be difficult to find. They can give me a call, and that number is 972-523-9740. Or again, my website, jameskeoughan.com.
I love it. They will definitely put all of the James information in the description. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are in the Southlake or greater, DFW area and need help with buying or selling, definitely reach out to him. So, thank you again, James. It was an honor to talk with you, my friend.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.